I started Adams State when I was 31. So it's not the usual go to college, graduate, go to law school. So I got married young, had children, and worked as a journalist. And I decided the articles I was really interested in had something to do with law. So I started thinking that maybe I wanted to be a lawyer. So the only reason I went to Adams State and got that degree in history and government was because I did want to go to law school. And being a prosecutor was the only job I wanted. It was a wonderful opportunity that came to me. I'd been with the DA's office for a couple years as a deputy DA, and then I left and went into private practice for a few years. I always wanted to get back into prosecution. In the San Luis Valley, the 12th Judicial District, we have 6 counties. So the 6 county chairs of the Democratic Party came to me and said, "Would you run?" And I said, "Yes, I will." I announced on the 4th of July in Creede, Colorado. So I campaigned really hard all summer and into the fall, and in November, I took 5 out of the 6 counties. This first woman thing happens, and it's still happening, but I don't think many of us have that in mind. We have our mind on a particular job that we want, a particular position that we're looking for, and then that sort of comes later. Because when I first ran, I wasn't even aware that I would be the first woman. And then as the campaign got going, people in Denver that I knew were sort of telling me, "Hey, you know what? I think this is really something." You know, actually, I can't think of anything, but I do think there's a long way to go. We have 22 judicial districts. Right now, I think we have 5 women elected district attorneys. That's not overwhelming. I broke that glass ceiling in 1992. So it would be nice to see at least 11 of those 22, let's say, be women. We're 50% of the population. But I just read a really interesting quote this morning that Susan Sontag wrote, and she said, "Men are seen, women are watched." I think that's still the truth. I can remember people referring to me as that woman DA. The camaraderie at CDAC was very strong. Although I was the first woman elected DA, I was certainly not the only woman in the room. Jeannie Smith was there with John Suthers, and Kathy Sasak was there as the assistant DA with Dave Thomas. And so I made a lot of good friendships there. Find out where you want to go and you go there. The way I always looked at it was, at least I lived in a time when nobody said to me, "You can't go to college, you can't go to law school because you're a woman." And there certainly were times in our history not that long ago when that would have happened. So I thought, if you really want something and you're willing to give your all to get it, we do have a higher bar, I think. And I still think that's true. When I went to law school in the 80s, we had 100 people in our class and we had 25 women. Now, what I've looked at, law schools are about 50-50 or a little heavier on women. So it's interesting, the changes, but they're very slow. As I said, I was elected in 92 from a rural area, the San Luis Valley. Boulder, which is sort of an enclave of liberalism in Colorado, didn't elect a woman until Mary Lacy in 2001. I think each woman reaches down and brings more up. I know that I had a lot of women that I looked up to as I was coming along, and certainly Pat Schroeder was one of those, being here in Colorado. Nancy Dick, who was the first lieutenant governor, first female lieutenant governor, She and I are really good friends. We have been for some 20 years now. So I think that each one of us, as we sort of blaze our trail, we're making it easier for the next group to come along. And I've always tried to make it clear to young women how supportive I am of their dreams and their desires. And I just think you have to go for it. When I was the elected DA, I went out a lot and spoke at schools. And I let the kids know that I wasn't a great student. I wasn't on student council. I didn't set the world on fire. It was only until I grew up and got serious that I became a good student, and I was able to make it through college with honors, got a scholarship to go to law school, and that if I could do it, they could do it. So I always thought maybe there was some little girl up there in the bleachers looking at me going, huh, really? Oh, maybe I could do that.